smoke from the battlefield, experience the thunder of exploding ordnance, and revel in the thrill of his savage horde ripping alien flesh apart, often with their bare hands. He wanted to be there with his troops, and perhaps, if he had the opportunity, he would partake in a little bloodletting of his own. It was still early. Who knew where the fortunes of war would take him? Colonel Ahmed Wadi had taken over command of the REV forces after his predecessors, General Zac Murphy and Colonel Angus Price, were recalled to Earth. That was 6 months ago, and since then there had been a dramatic shift in tactics employed to facilitate the incorporation of new worlds into the Union of Affiliated Systems, the UAS, Earth's burgeoning stellar empire. This change came through the direction of the CFC, the Combat Force Committee, more commonly referred to by the grunts as the Clusterfuck Committee. The Consolidated Diplomatic Corps directed this 16-person panel of civilian, military, and government personnel under the auspices of the Outer Reaches Settlement Committee on the planet Joris. Each of these various entities answered ultimately to Earth and the UAS Expansion Committee of the World Congress in Rockville, Maryland. It may seem like a long and convoluted chain of command. However, the CFC had considerable latitude when it came to accomplishing the goals set forth by Congress. As long as the stats showed a steady increase in the number of affiliated systems added within a specified accounting period, the CFC could do pretty much what it wanted. So far, the goals had been met and often exceeded. Because of this, CFC Director Elliot Bell was the shiny new thing in the halls of government, and Ahmed knew the senior diplomat was determined to keep it that way. That was why the Kadar campaign was going to be one for the record books, and why Ahmed was on the surface, ready to give the order to execute. He didn't want to miss a thing. Ahmed had been a major in the REV Corps when Murphy was in command, so he knew how much things had changed. In Murphy's 10 years in charge, he was under the direction of the old Armada and the Diplomatic Corps operating within the outer reaches. At that time, their actions were slower, more deliberate. Often it would take 6 months or more to subdue a resisting species. It was more important to preserve the infrastructure of the world rather than score a quick capitulation. That changed with Murphy's recall and the transfer of power to the CFC. Now it was a numbers game, with the people of Earth addicted to the idea of an ever-growing stellar empire destined to one day rule the galaxy. At one time, that was only the domain of science fiction, but under Bell's leadership it could someday become a reality. Granted, that was still generations away, but if the CFC had anything to do with it, and they did, it would happen sooner rather than later. "The Heckern are in position, Colonel," Ahmed's adjutant reported. The command staff was in a heavily armed, tank-like vehicle proceeding through a section of the huge alien city that had been recently abandoned by the civilian natives and accompanied by a squad of 9 other APCs. They were in a hurry to get to high ground before the offensive began. Ahmed knew the game plan, so not much would surprise him, even the complete 180 his superiors had made regarding combat operations. In one way, he was glad that his troops wouldn't be bogged down on any one planet for long. In another, he missed the days of prolonged engagements with more opportunities for his REVs to be REVs. "Very well, Major. Start the countdown. Inform the Valhalla. We light the candle in 60 seconds. The planet Kadar was a typical Earth Standard world, now designated ES-102, with humanoid natives sporting fur-covered bodies and a small tail. The tail appeared through slits in their clothing and helped with balance as they ran. They were much faster than normal humans, but not REVs or Heckern. The Malem, as the natives called themselves, rated 6.9 in the Blood Book, placing them equivalent to early 20th century technology on Earth. They had projectile weapons, rockets, and aircraft, but no nuclear weapons. The fact that they resisted the offer to join